city of Philly, where the birds take flight. Eagle swag on the rise each and every night. Tone and Markus got the scoop ready to ignite. From the lanes of South Street to the Broad Street lights. Dashing like a running back, hitting every play. 9 guys in the zone, never led astray. Talking touchdowns, talking game day. Huddle around the mic, hear what they gotta say. Fly like an eagle soaring in the sky. Know the Markus always standing by. Bringing their heat, call it do or die. Philly squad, hear the battle cry. Fly like an eagle soaring in the sky. Know the Markus always standing by. Bringing their heat, call it do or die. Philly squad, hear the battle cry.
Eagles fans, man, what a night, what a season.
Super Bowl champion Eagles fans.
Super Bowl champion. Let me correct myself. Your Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. You guys are Super Bowl champions. You know, Marcus, I was talking about this yesterday on my live stream, my friend, and I was just saying to myself, or saying to the people rather, the Eagles, you know, they put in the blood, sweat equity into this thing, but the Eagles fans put their own equity into this thing.
Oh, bro, you know, I was watching, bro.
The amount of money people spend on concessions, tickets, parking, gas, airfare, hotels, merchandise, taxes. I mean, showing up the way you guys do, the amount of money you guys spend on food and those tailgates and your parties and just trying to make sure they go into their games, understanding that we got their back through thick and thin. This Eagles team, this Eagles fan base has been magical all year long, Marcus. And these people need to understand that they earned this Super Bowl win just as much as those players did.
All them teams, man. All them teams. All of that talk. Nobody knows what they got until you play the game. You go through all of that rigmarole in camp. You want to see this person where they look good in camp, then come regular season and you don't hear from them no more. All of that type of stuff. We had the whole Devin White incident. Kind of excited for him. And then he never saw the field. And we looking at Vic Fangio like, what's going on with you? And, you know, you got to leave it to the adults in the room to make the right decisions. And lucky for us that the adults in the room down at NovaCare know what the deal is.
Here's the thing. It's so easy to make the wrong decision.
Very easy.
It's so easy to make the wrong decision, especially when you're trying to build a Super Bowl caliber team. You could have easily moved on from the wrong player. You could have probably invested in the wrong player. Maybe a player doesn't live up to expectation. What if the coaching hires are wrong? I mean, so many intricacies can go the other way. But when you have a process that you trust and you have people in the building, a la Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni that you trust, right? When you hire the right people, Clint Hurt, Vic Fangio, like it gets forgotten that this Philadelphia Eagles organization, they completely overhauled their coaching staff. And they said to themselves, we like our head coach, but we just got to put the right people around them. The players like him. They want to play for him. That's not the question. But we have to find a way to insulate him so he can be the person he needs to be, and we can still get this. And we can still get the desired result in terms of player development, in terms of on-field execution, and that's where Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore comes in. I mean, Vic Fangio, I'm surprised he didn't win as assistant of the year or coordinator of the year, whatever that award is. They gave it to Ben Johnson. I'm surprised they didn't give it to Vic Fangio. In my opinion, Vic Fangio had the longest distance traveled with his team rather than Ben Johnson. That team was pretty much clicking all cylinders.
I don't want no more awards because it's all bullshit. I want no more awards. You give the MVP to Josh Allen, you can have it. Lamar Jackson got 2 of them. I don't know if you've seen the post I put up. I got the Eric Dickerson.
Are you talking about the Russian stat?
Yeah, there it is. I saw that on my big screen right there, the thing with Saquon Barkley, and I just put a post. I was like, Eric Dickerson, we good. We good. What did I say to you 4 weeks ago? What was the record we was after?
You made it very clear. You said the Terrell Davis record is the real record. That's the winner's record.
Saquon Barkley is one of two.
Mm.
One of two. And number one in yards.
Most rushing
including the
yards ever.
playoffs. But he's one of two. He's the only other, besides Terrell Davis, he's the only other 2,000-yard rusher with a Super Bowl ring.
Can we definitively say Saquon Barkley had the most prolific, the most dominant, the greatest running back season of all time?
I would. Yeah, I would. Because I was gonna say Adrian Peterson, but none of them got to the chip.
AP did win MVP.
Yeah,
which is very difficult to do.
But none of them got to the chip.
You know, Saquon superseded his numbers in every way.
Yeah,
but they just didn't give him the MVP award. That's the only difference.
The one thing about a running back, a little bit different than a quarterback. Running back, you know he's coming. You know he's coming. Quarterback, you know where he's going to throw to, but quarterback still got options.
Right.
He got
play
the X,
action.
he got the Y, he got the Z, he got the slot, he got a screen. You've got options when it's quarterback. When it's a running back, you got one focus.
You know where he is.
He might go in a couple different directions, but you got one job.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and they still couldn't stop him. They still couldn't stop him. And I believe I had the stats up and I forgot it. What was his? He only ended up with 53 yards rushing. But what was his all-purpose yards? I think he had close to 100.
So
he had like 93 or something like that.
In the game, Saquon had 57 yards rushing. He had 40 yards receiving. So he had 97 all-purpose yards.
All-purpose yards. I'll take it.
On 31 touches. Now, here's the thing, right? I'll take that because, and we're going to get into this game, you guys. Best believe we're kind of just, kind of setting the table a little bit. You know what I mean? You think
we
about
got time. We ain't got another game next week.
We got nothing but time, Marcus. Nothing but time, space, opportunity, and jewelry.
All we got to do is get ready for this parade, bro.
Exactly. So let's really take our time through this thing, right? In this game, Saquon Barkley only accounted for just over 50 rushing yards and 40 receiving yards. He had 97 all-purpose yards. And he had it on 31 touches, 25 carries, 6 receptions. Ironically enough, Saquon Barkley led the team in targets with 7 targets. The next closest guys were Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. They had 5 targets each. But Saquon led the team in targets, and he led the team in receptions, and he also led the team in carries. So let's really dissect his performance. Although he didn't break any big runs, his longest rush of the day was 10 yards. But
he made 2 mistakes from my purview.
Speak on
that. Just me looking at it as a running back, he had 2 opportunities to bounce it outside and could have got good yards, could have had a splash play. I believe he had 2 plays and Kenny Gainwell had 1 play. Where if they would have just I think Kenny Gainwell's was late in the game. But if he'd have bounced it outside to the right, he'd have been gone. And Saquon had 1 run where, I was over here pitching the fit because I was like, why y'all still trying to run it inside? They not giving that up.
Yeah.
And what did we talk? Didn't I say they was going to bring Chanel up? That's exactly what they did.
But
and
they also
kept trying to gut it up the middle. I was like, just get them outside. Run the same play you ran against Washington. And they never did it.
But I feel like Kansas City did a good job defending the edge in this game.
Did.
They did a good job. And that's not me discounting the 2 opportunities you saw. Because it's very plausible that Saquon, he missed a hole. It's very plausible.
Let me make it clear. Let me make it clear. Saquon went where the play was designed to be run. This is me looking at Saquon like, I need you to be a running back like you did on that long play against LA.
I think I see what you're saying now. I think I see where you're going.
If he bounces out one time, there's nobody out there because everybody was drawn inside.
Okay.
So I'm looking at Saquon as like be a running back, but
that was
he went where he was supposed to go. So
I get what you said. It's like he it's almost like he did exactly what he was supposed to do.
Exactly.
Whereas though, all right, I understand you have a job to do, but I want you to put some creativity in there as well. All right.
I need you to and Kellen Moore did same thing. We didn't run too much out of pistol.
Yeah.
I see other opportunities, but I'm sorry.
We're being picky, right?
Driving.
So again, right? His 97 yards, again, he did that on 31 touches. He only averaged just over 3 yards a touch.
That's a good day.
But
97 all-purpose yards.
But when you think about it in the context of this game, his contributions, what he was able to do, kept the team on schedule and it kept them balanced. And it also kept the Kansas City Chiefs defense honest. See,
absolutely.
Kellen Moore at any point in that game could have abandoned the run game because they weren't getting anything, but he stuck with it. And that speaks to the maturity of Kellen Moore as a play caller, because remember, historically, he's known for being a pass-happy guy. And coming to Philly, he had to really adjust his approach based off of his personnel. And that was a real sign of maturity, in my opinion, for Kellen Moore. So in this game, he could have got impatient. But when you got a guy like Saquon, you feel like, hey, if I give it to him enough, he's gonna break something. But again, you gave it to him 20 plus times in this game, 31 total touches. I also want to give credit to Jalen Hurts for making quick decisions and just being okay with the check down.
Getting the ball out of his hands quick. And we were pretty much status quo. We took 3 deep shots. 4. He had the one pick where that was on him because he threw the pick.
Yeah, and the pressure got to him. He should have got rid of that rather than
that was on Cam Jurgens.
Yeah.
That was on Cam Jurgens because Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson both went left and Nick Bolton came scot-free, untouched.
Mm.
And that put the pressure. And what happened was Jaylen could not step into the throw. He threw off his back foot, didn't get enough on it because that is a ball where either AJ catches it or it's out of bounds.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't mind the throw. I'll put that on Jurgens. So that was the same way Jared Verse got that sack in the LA game. They went the wrong way. So I'm looking at Jurgens. Jurgens must have made the wrong call because both of them went left.
Yes.
And Bolton came scot-free. That's a call by the center. So I'm putting that on Jurgens. So you got that deep pass. Then you had the back shoulder pass that was complete. Then you had the play that was called back for the penalty, the BS called up for the penalty. And then you had Devontae Smith touchdown.
You can't forget the Dotson one.
Yes, Jahan Dotson. So that's 5. So that's 5. Well, Jahan Dotson was what? 25, 30 yards, maybe.
That's an explosive play.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
By definition.
Explosive play is what? Plus 20.
Plus 20, yeah, 20 plus.
Okay,
yep.
So that's 6.
And you're right. That back shoulder to AJ Brown I think that was on 3rd down. That was a dart.
Yeah, that was a dart.
Like, yeah, man. I mean, look, we're analyzing this game because I obviously they won. We're excited. We know how that goes. But we're analyzing this game because we want to just break down what we saw. We want to break down this ass whooping, y'all. You feel what I'm saying? Like, we just want to just peel the layers back because it was such a fun game to watch for us as fans. And sometimes when you're watching it as a fan, it's hard for you to really get too deep into the intricacies. You just all you care about is scores and turnovers and all the basic things you see. But this game was so interesting to me because Spags had some decisions to make in this game. And clearly we're starting with the Eagles offense and the Chiefs defense, right? Spags had some decisions to make in this game. We talked about it prior to.
Yeah.
Either you're going to sell out to stop Saquon and leave your corners on the island, or you're going to trust your front to be able to stop the run and play coverage.
Yeah. I mean, what did I say they were going to do if they brought the blitz? That means this man coverage on the edges. And what did I say? If you gamble, you might win some, but eventually you're going to get burned.
But here's the thing. They got
burned. Dotson burned
significantly more.
AJ
Significantly
Brown burned
more.
him. Devontae Smith burned him. So Spags did exactly what we thought he was going to do. He got home a couple times. I think Jaylen got sacked twice?
Just twice.
Twice, and I think it may have been three because he scrambled a couple times and he went down.
It was
so
twice.
That was only twice. Okay,
yeah, it was twice. He got pressure, but what they continue to underestimate is Jalen Hurts' ability to deal with the pressure.
3 seconds, and he was out.
Especially in the second half.
Remember when I said that? 3 seconds. Don't try to hold on to the ball. He either scrambled to the outside and ran around the corner, or he dipped straight up and he found his exit strategy. He was out of there. So good job in Kellen Moore hammering home. Get the ball out of your hands. He did not have the ball in his hands for a very long time. And
it seemed like also he had options, right? It seemed like they made it a point to give Jalen Hurts a path with the ball if the pressure got to him, if they blitz, right? And I think that's why we saw Saquon have as many check down catches. Those 6 catches he had. I think that's why Saquon was able to really, get involved in the pass game, because again, they made it clear that they weren't going to learn to run. So you got to get creative and get him involved in the pass game. You got to give them a different look, stress their defense in a different aspect. Use that quick game, use that short game as an extension of your run game. Get him in space, see if he can make a play, right? And you got to give credit to KC. They tackled decently. They tackled pretty well in this game.
Yeah, they tackled very well. But what do you do when your tank is empty? Because Spags was throwing the kitchen sink. And he had some good schemes. But what do you do when they pick it up? So we say that so nonchalantly, we gonna throw the book at him. You gotta empty the playbook. Show them the stuff that they ain't seen yet. This is the last game of the season. This is all the marbles. So you put it all out there on the table. But what happens if it don't work? Spags didn't do anything different. Spag was creative. He had a couple of good blitzes. But my point is when you throw everything out there and they pick it up, what else do you have?
That has to be frustrating for a defense.
Absolutely. And that's my point. Spags, so you mean to tell me all of a sudden Spags wasn't a genius? You mean to tell me he's not a good defensive coordinator? No. The difference was we picked everything up. We saw everything. Jalen was reading everything. Jalen was making I even saw the hot routes. I even saw the quick slants.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have that type of pedigree where Spags is going to dial something up. Spags is going to dial something up. That's what he's been doing all year. His acclaim and his accolades are well-deserved. But when you have an offense that's prepared, and you pick everything up, shout out to Jeff Stoutland, because that's a Stoutland study hall right there. Stoutland is responsible for picking up the blitz. Stoutland and Jalen got to be able to pick it up. Jurgens has got to point it out. He communicates, and once Jalen gets that information, he's got to make the decision. And we can always go back. Remember 2 years ago when Jason Kelsey calling out the blitz, and Jalen Hurts called an audible, and Jason Kelsey looked back and was like, "No."
He waved them off. He waved them off.
Yeah, but you know what Jalen did? Jalen was run the play. And he said, Jalen was like, run the play. And they read it, and I think Jalen took off on that. So he was expecting something, and I'm saying all that to say, Jalen, at the end of the day, Jalen is the guy that's going to make the final decision on what play they run. Whether they reload it, whether they run something different, whether he looks at Jahan Dotson and goes, gun, that means you taking off, right? So at the end of the day, Jalen has to make that decision, but it's all about the communication. And Jeff Stoutland and Kellen Moore put a game plan together to catch those blitzes. They caught us sleeping a couple times, but for the most part, we picked up everything. And once you pick up the blitz, what else do you have? And that was the problem. They ran into a buzzsaw.
Absolutely. And to your point about picking up the blitz, this is another thing I want to give Saquon Barkley credit for. I know a lot of people want to say, oh yeah, the Chiefs completely neutralized Barkley. Well, look, football is much more than the explosive plays, right? Sometimes it's about the dirty work. Sometimes it's about the plays that you don't really pay too much attention to. To your point about picking up the blitz, again, Saquon Barkley was phenomenal in pass pro.
Yes, he was.
He was phenomenal. And it started in that Commanders game. I mean, he's been doing it all year, but it really started. You saw it in that Commanders game. I mean, there was a handful of plays in that game last night where you saw Saquon Barkley pick up that blitzer, and it gave Jalen Hurts a cradle of love for him to make that pass, be it to Dotson or Devontae. I mean, it was phenomenal to see Saquon Barkley be so locked in and impact the game in more ways than what we're probably used to, or rather more ways than we want to give him credit for. Yeah. 97 total yards in the game, 31 touches. He was an integral part to the flow of this offense.
Yep.
And he was an integral part to Jalen Hurts being able to have the time he needed to pick up the blitz. Not only did they make sure the hots were installed, but pass pro with the running backs was phenomenal. And I got to ask you a question, right? Because I know you mentioned Stoutland, and you played the game. So help me understand this. Does the running back coach and the offensive line coach work hand in hand in terms of pass pro with the running backs? How does that process go with running backs and the coaches?
Most times, running backs would be in meetings with the offensive line because running backs, a big thing with running backs is your timing. Because, and I would say this, to me, it looked like Saquon had a little bit of the jitters. You know what I mean? He was hitting too fast. He wasn't patient.
I noticed that early on. To me, it seemed like he slipped a couple times, and I was like, it seemed like he was trying to. It seemed like his body and his brain was moving at two different speeds.
He hadn't calmed down yet. He hadn't gotten into the rhythm of the game yet. And he was trying to hit stuff too fast. And that's why I'm saying, I think, he missed a couple of games. He missed a couple of big plays because he didn't see the bounce to the outside. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, but that comes with it.
Or maybe he saw it and it was like he was too anxious he didn't let it develop enough, or he didn't, you know what I mean? Like maybe he saw it, but he just, like you said, he was just he wanted it too bad, if that makes sense.
It's a lot of timing when it comes to running backs because there is a thing called hitting the hole too fast. And sometimes you got to let it breathe. You got to let plays develop. And just, you got to take what they give you. So most of the times we would be in the meetings with the offensive linemen so we can know what their calls are. We can know what they're looking at. Usually it's for blitz pickup, but you learn a lot watching the offensive line because they got to, the offensive line got to pick up everything just like a quarterback does. They got to know where the blitz is coming from. They got to know if it is a blitz. You got different responsibilities if you head up as opposed to if somebody's in the gap. Because just like that situation where Nick Bolton came through, Nick Bolton is in the gap. So who's got him? Does the center have him or does the guard have him? Because he's in the gap. So if he's in the gap, that means usually the center is uncovered and the guard is uncovered. So if you uncovered, that means you usually go into the second level or you looking to help if you in pass protection. So in pass protection, you got to be on the same page because just like that, if you got two people looking in the same direction, somebody walks through scot-free.
Wow.
So that's the type of communication you got to have. We think about it a lot like that when it comes to the defense, especially when you're talking about the secondary, because they got to communicate who's in man, who's in zone, all of that type of stuff. But it is just as extremely important for your offensive line. And the flip side of that is what happened to Patrick Mahomes, because like I said, Caliendo was a damn turnstile. And Milt Williams and Josh and Jaylen Carter was wearing Trey's ass out. He was wearing, was it Trey Smith?
Yeah. Trey Smith, the right guard, Caliendo left guard.
Wearing his ass out.
Juwan Taylor, right tackle, Joe Tooney, left tackle. You know,
Tooney and Caliendo was getting their ass ate up. And Josh, it was at one point, Josh Sweat would have been the MVP.
Yes. And, because, let's just have a conversation, right? Let's not even really try to make this too structured. Let's just really get into whatever we're discussing, right? because I love where you're going with. I love where you're going with the Chiefs' offensive line play. It seemed to me Vic Fangio made it a point for these guys, especially the front four. It seems to me the message was, we don't win this game unless you guys win up front, because I'm not blitzing. It seemed like he challenged his team. He challenged his four horsemen and said, "You four, rush. I'm not sending any more."
But think about who's probably the lowest percentage blitzing team in the league and still number one in the league. Us.
That's us for sure. That's us.
Fangio doesn't blitz. He doesn't blitz. The one blitz we went, I believe it was Zack Baun, and he got the pressure, but Mahomes ended up throwing a quick pass to Worthy, I believe, on his left side.
But here's the thing: we technically didn't blitz once in this game. We always sent four, no matter where it came from.
Yeah,
it was always four. But again, like I'm speaking again, like, yes, our tendency is not to blitz. That's not who we are. But the challenge, the way they rose to the challenge, and the way they exposed that offensive line in this game. You know, I was watching the Green Light podcast with Chris Long, and one thing he always says is,
I watched that too.
When you get into these big games, when you get into the playoffs, these big games, it's never about your strengths. It's about your weaknesses.
Exactly.
And all year, that Chiefs offensive line was their weakness. And they just was hanging on by a thread all year long. This was Patrick Mahomes was sacked much more this season than he ever has been in his career. The Eagles sacked him 6 times yesterday, the most he's ever been sacked in a game. He's ever. They basically forced him to have his second worst career performance in his career. All those categories. And when you think about that Chiefs offensive line, you notice how far out Nolan Smith and Josh Sweat and Jaylen Hunt, those guys on the edge, you notice how far off they were lined up. They were damn near in the wide 9.
Exactly.
And it seemed like the goal was to, based off the film they probably watched, they probably felt to themselves, let's take advantage. Let's find out how bad they want it. And what I mean by that is, if you notice in that game, you didn't really see too many intricate pass rush moves. It seemed like they strictly relied on speed to power.
Yeah, the one thing I did notice when Jaylen Hunt got that sack, hands is inside, hands to the chest, and drove the guy back. Josh Sweat, his sacks, drove the guy back. Nolan Smith, the couple of pressures that he had, he drove the guy back. It wasn't about him going around him. But when you think about it like this, because the reason why they lined up so wide is because it's almost like you getting a running start.
Yes.
And if you are offensive lineman, that drop step is very easy for somebody that's 6'4" and above. It's very easy it's very difficult for them to stay low. And they end up standing up. So when you stand up and you got all of that speed coming at you and you get your hands in the chest, the one thing is going to happen is your head going to pop back and you're going to lose your balance, because your body is going to naturally tell you to try to keep your balance. You're not going to let yourself fall back.
Am I tripping? I was watching Joe Thuney all game. And not only was he getting beat by Sweat and Nolan, Jaylen Hunt, the rookie, was killing him. And again, I don't know if you noticed this. Tell me if I'm tripping. Either his arms are really short, or he was short arming everything, because it just seemed like even his kick out seemed shallow. Even his arm, it almost seemed like he didn't want the contact.
But so now we getting into technique, right?
Because remember, he is a guard by trade.
There you go. How you handle yourself as a guard is different than how you handle yourself as a tackle. If you move Lane Johnson to guard, we might have problems. That's why it is such a big deal, and I still don't think we talk about it enough. That's why it's such a big deal what Mekhi Becton is doing at 6'7".
We talked about this. He's a unicorn. He doesn't get enough credit for the transition he made.
At his side, the guards, you got to have good feet as a guard because you always pulling.
Marcus, that should not work.
Or
My
you
competition should not work at that spot. It should not work.
guards have to pull. And the more important thing is, let's just say I'm a guard and I'm uncovered, and you got a man over the center. So what do guards do? They go to the left, they help out on the center, then they go to the next level to get the linebacker. You got to have good feet and you got to have good hands.
What's that called? Is that called scraping or no?
Something it's different dialects. Some people call it you might reach. Usually they say you reach.
If
reach
you're
to
the center
and go to the next level.
Yeah, if you're the center and I'm the left guard, we double team the nose tackle. Then I go to the next level and attack the linebacker. What is that called?
You just to me that just you helping out on a double team and you going to the next level. Okay. I don't think there's probably a word for it, but I don't know what it is. All I know is if you uncovered and you step hard left or hard right, that's usually called a reach. That's a reach block. A pull block, obviously, you drop stepping and then you leading through the other side or through across the end. You get the end man on the line of scrimmage. So it depends on different teams call them different things. It
terminology, basically.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you helping out and you going to the level. Or you got to look at who's next to you, because you'll see a lot of guards. All they'll do is they'll stick that hand out and get that shoulder pad, and that's enough to help out the center or whoever's to your left. Because all you got to do is knock somebody off balance just a little bit and let that offensive lineman get his hands underneath your pads, and that way it makes it easier to wheel your hips around to kind of put them where you want to put them.
But the Chiefs, it looked like they never had a chance all night, Marcus.
They did.
I'm trying to understand. Remember in the last Super Bowl we lost to them, our issue was we didn't make any adjustments on defense, right? It seemed like Andy Reid was very dead set on trying to win this game the way he wanted to win this game, and they didn't make any adjustments. I did see them trying to shift their protection towards the right sometimes and try to get Mahomes rolling a little bit to kind of, to try to offset that pass rush and give their lineman a little bit of an advantage.
That's what they did in the second half.
It seemed like no matter what they did, they couldn't really help that man. And above all else, obviously linebackers and DBs covered very well to make it damn near impossible for Mahomes to play the game he wanted to play. But it all started with that 4-man front, and they were just so dominant in the way they abused. I don't want to act like I'm shocked, because I know this defensive front is talented. I think I'm just shocked by the lack of run game from the Chiefs, or the lack of attempt to establish one.
Mm-hmm.
They damn near made it easy for this defensive line to make decisions.
Yeah, that's what and when you flip it out when they come out the second half and they start rolling out because that left side of the line was getting used. Now you look at the discipline you got, because if Mahomes is rolling out to his right, that means our left edge has to be disciplined, because if he crashes too hard inside, Mahomes is going to run right around him.
I'm glad you said that.
And that didn't happen.
I'm so glad you said that, because I was watching it and it seemed to me, because if you notice, you didn't really see Nolan, Josh, you didn't really see them trying to really get around the hula hoop like that. You saw them kind of just, to me,
they were bull rush.
It looked like the game plan was speed the power, bull rush, bottleneck Mahomes, force him into our tackles, force him into our defensive tackles, and then disengage, collapse on him.
But also, if me and you facing each other, and I walk straight to you, and I basically put my hands like in your collar right here, whoever's behind you, I can move and go left or right. Now, if I'm coming outside on the edge and trying to beat you around,
one-way traffic, you only got one way to go.
Yeah, but that's where Mahomes can dip underneath, and there's nothing that you can do. So, to your point about the bull rush, strength to power, speed to power, as long as you got your hands in front, you can move and it's a little bit easier to go back and chase, go back this way and chase. So it's a lot more difficult for the quarterback to escape. That's what they were doing on Jaylen a little bit earlier in the season. So we did a great job doing that, because even when Mahomes tried to get out and run, I think he only had like one play where he scrambled for a first down. Most of the other times we got him.
Yeah,
or at least he didn't get no big plays off of it.
Yeah, his longest scramble of the night was 8 yards, and he only scrambled for 4 carries, 25 yards. So, I mean, you
kept them in
outside
check.
of that, outside of that long run, I mean, he only scrambled for what is my math telling me here? That's you take away that 8-yard long run, 17 yards on 3 carries. I mean, he really could, because that's the thing about him, that's where he gets you.
Yeah,
where he's able to create magic on the fly. But what they did a really good job preventing him from breaking containment, right?
Yeah.
He never really got loose. He was running for his life, and most of the running he did in that game last night was behind the line of scrimmage.
Exactly. When he doing that 360 and coming all the way around and all that type of stuff. And he could, and when you do that, the minute he turns around, the smart thing to do is you're not trying to go for the sack. You're trying to stay in his face.
Yes.
Because if you do go for the tackle and you miss him, he gone. But as long as the good thing about Mahomes and the bad thing about Mahomes, as long as he's on his feet, he's still trying to throw the ball. And what did he do? He finally made that mistake. He made 2 of them.
Me too. I was about to say made 2 of them.
He made 2 of them. The first pick, that was Cooper just being at the right place. The defense was sound, and Mahomes didn't see him.
And also Mahomes,
you're trying to throw across your body.
I was just about to say that. He tried to
throw across your body.
And even where he was trying to throw the ball, the man was covered.
Yep.
He was covered.
That second pick was Zack Baun. That was Josh Sweat's pick. Or was that Josh Sweat or Mill Williams?
Yes.
Because Mill Williams,
Josh Sweat forced, was it Josh Sweat?
He drove his man into him.
He forced Tooney into his hip.
Yes.
And
it messed up his throw.
Messed it up completely.
But
Zack Baun still had to make the athletic play.
Right.
He had to stretch for that. I mean, dude, what this defense did in this game against this quarterback, this coaching staff is historic.
Yeah.
Historic.
When we got our hands on the ball, we came away with the turnover. We did that this time. We only let that was a good play by Avonte Maddox.
Are you talking about 4th down?
Yeah, he wasn't gonna get that. But I think Isaiah Rodgers dropped the pick again. There was a situation where, once again, Isaiah Rodgers trying to catch it like he trying to cradle it. If he'd have had his thumbs together like he pulling down the rebound, he would have had that pick.
Yeah, that was a tough one. That was because it was in traffic. That was a tough pick for sure. And I see what you're saying as far as the Avonte Maddox PBU, because it looked like Hopkins was open. It looked like it.
He was.
And he was. But Mahomes, and this is the part of the game that gets so fascinating to me as far as the mental side of it, right? It doesn't matter how talented you are, how great you are. You get hit enough, you start short-arming throws. You start rushing throws. You start seeing ghosts. You start thinking it's 12, 13 minutes. You start thinking it's 12, 13 defenders out there when it's really only 11. You know what I mean? And that Hopkins throw really is a layup. That's a layup.
Yeah.
That's a layup.
But I still think that was all Avonte Maddox, because that experience is up and down.
He's still got to make the play.
He made the play. He made the play. If Avonte Maddox doesn't make that play, that's an easy catch and a first down. But we made the play. And our defense, especially on the biggest stage, came up big as hell. And again, Spags had emptied his tank. The offense had emptied their tank, and they had nothing else. They couldn't think it. We had answers to everything they threw.
But they had 2 weeks, Marcus. This is Andy Reid we're talking about. This is Steve Spagnuolo. Like, and again, I'm just trying to I'm trying to think real critical about this. These guys are known. They pride themselves on making the necessary adjustments. And it seemed to me, at the rate this Eagles team was playing at the level they was playing at, it seemed like it didn't matter what they did. That wasn't going to be their game.
They were ready for it. And the biggest thing about our defense, plain and simple, is we got home with 4. That's it in a nutshell. That means you still got 7 people in your secondary covering. You remember that play where Patrick Mahomes was clearly trying to go deep and nobody was home?
He had to pat the ball. He pumped.
He ended up going to the check down.
Yeah. That's when I knew that's another play where I knew, oh, we're covering for real.
We're covering
Because
he I know what he was looking for, but it wasn't open, and he wasn't about to get the ball up again. So he went to the check down. That was one of the few plays where he didn't have a lot of pressure on him. And what nobody opened down the field. That's what you get when you bring 4 and you got seven deep.
And that goes back to my point about how efficient this defense has been, even when they're not getting the pressure.
Exactly. We won the chess match. We won the chess match.
Take me to a player's mind, right? I know you played offense, but I know you grew up playing both sides of the ball. As you know, high school. Just as you grow into the game, right? Take me to the mind of the athlete, the football player, when not obviously you have the talent, but when your team, when your unit is clicking on all cylinders, not even on a physical level, just from a discipline level. When you guys are all in sync, when everything is working, like when you put in so much work in the film room, you put in so much work through the walkthroughs and practice, you're not even thinking out there. Walk me through that.
The defense was in the zone. The defense was in the zone. Everything was working. Everybody was beating their man. They were in the zone. There was nothing that Kansas City could have done to stop what was going on, because everybody was beating their man across the board. They had nothing for us. Jaylen Carter was winning against their best offensive player, their best offensive lineman. Joe Tooney was out of position. They even said that on the broadcast. He's a great borderline Hall of Fame guard. Tackle, not so much. We already know what Caliendo was. Our defensive line across was better than their offensive line, and there was nothing that they could do. Nothing. And we knew it. Everybody was in the zone. Oren Burks played a hell of a game. Zack Baun played a hell of a game. We had two or three options that could have possibly been MVP of that game that was on the defense. Josh Sweat, Oren Burks, or heck, you could even say Zack Baun, because Zack Baun had to pick, and he had and then Cooper DeJean, the way you had options. Everybody was playing. You see they didn't try none of that trick stuff when run with the fake motions and all of that type of stuff. They ain't do none of that. We had it sniffed out. What play was that?
It seemed like everybody.
It was a play. It may have been a penalty. But Jaylen sniffed out a screen play.
I know what you're talking about. I know what I remember the play you're talking about.
Jaylen was waiting on it.
Yeah. I think it ultimately ended up being incomplete.
I can't remember if it was an incomplete play.
I know what play you're talking about, though. Because I was watching, I know exactly what play you're talking about, because there was a moment where because Jaylen Carter didn't stuff the stat sheet, but his presence and just how smart he is. I was listening to Jerry McCoy talking to the guys from PHLY, Bo Wolf and those boys. And he was speaking on Jaylen Carter and just where he is, right? And he said something very interesting to me. And I don't know if I agree with it wholeheartedly, but I liked where he was going, though. He basically was saying that what you got, the version of Jaylen Carter you guys are seeing right now, he doesn't even really know how to play football yet. Like what he's doing right now is talent, instincts, technique, fundamentals, right? But there's going to come a point in time where now he's not even winning with his talent anymore. It's all up here. It's all it's all in the mentals. And I do agree with him to a degree, because sure, he's only a 2-year player. There's so much more he can learn. There's so much more. This, like as you know, the game within the game, right? And I agree with him to an extent, because I feel like Jaylen Carter is already light years ahead of where a 2-year guy should probably be. in terms of how he's been able to sniff out so many of these screenplays. We've seen him do it all year long.
Yep.
He's been sniffing out plays. He's been calling stuff down the line. There's the infamous play, the sack he got on Matthew Stafford, the first one. Whatever he communicated to Nolan Smith, he said, hey, whatever he communicated to him, it led to a sack. It was the sack where he picked them up.
Yep.
And I always reference this because they went back to the sideline and Jaylen Carter said, hey, Nolan, thank you for trusting me. And Nolan said, don't you ever say nothing like that to me. You see that, you call it. I think Carter, because he's a young player, he's confident in his ability, right? But with experience, you gain more confidence in what you're seeing as well.
Yeah, he's maturing.
And for him to sniff out what he saw, and there was still, again, I mentioned the vulnerability in that, right? He gambled. At the end of the day, you're taking calculated risk when you play football every single down.
Yeah.
Okay, you're trying to assume where a guy's going to go. Okay, you think you know what they're going to do, and if they do it, boom, you guessed right or you gambled right. If they don't, you gambled wrong. Whatever it is, you just got to recover from that. But Jaylen Carter, going back to, he still learned how to play football, the game within the game, the mental aspect. That was a sign that it's there, but the confidence has to still grow and understand that what you saw is what you saw. Believe what you saw, which is why Nolan said, "Hey, you see that, you call it. Of course, I'll trust you." So he's talented, but it's going to all come together the deeper he goes into his career. And back to your point about the screen, he sniffed it out. He saw it. This team was playing; they were clicking on all cylinders. The chemistry was off the charts.
Where do you see Jaylen Carter next year? Think of it like high school, right? You a freshman, you a rookie, you don't know shit. Even if you're good, you don't know what you don't know, right? You become a sophomore. Now you got a year under your belt, and you start, right? You got a little bit more experience, so you maturing a little bit better, and you got a little bit more confidence because you know you belong, but you still got guys that are older than you that have been doing it a little bit longer and a little bit better, right? Mm-hmm. Then you go to your third year. Now you a junior, right? So juniors and seniors are pretty much in the same pack. So now you a leader of the team. You one of the upperclassmen. So it's that third year. We already know what his talent is. So next year, to all of the points you just made, the situation with Nolan Smith, the things that he sees on the field, even the fact that he can try to jump between the center's legs and catch a spike.
Yeah, that was crazy.
To be that adept to even try that.
Wasn't that the rookie year? And he did that in college too, but he was at high school.
He tried it one time this year too. It was early in the season, but my point is that now you're talking about somebody, next year he'll be in his third year. Now, next year is where his talent and where the maturity meet. Next year is where he knows, I'm that dude. I'm that dude. And they got to figure out a way to stop me. So next year, he going to go off. He's going to go off.
And you got a Super Bowl championship to match.
So now, it's, this offseason, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about it, but this offseason,
you're right.
This is, once again, this is where Howie's got to be the Wizard of Philadelphia. Because Josh Sweat done earned his money. Zack Baun done earned his money. We can't let Zack Baun go.
He can't go.
We can't do it.
No. We're going to lose. We're going to lose Milton Williams for sure. And you know what's so dope about it? These players. Look, again, like I said, we're going to lose Milton. And I know Josh Sweat said at the press conference that money is important, but at the same time, I'm also comfortable and I want the situation to be right. So who knows how that may go? But I think Josh is going to get paid. So
yeah,
Milton and Josh, there's a chance we may lose them. I think we're definitely losing Milton. And
but it depends on what he does with Bryce Huff. That's a big.
But here's my retort to that. Moro Ojomo got the same amount of pressures in this game as Milton Williams did. The only difference was Milton Williams was in position to get the sacks. What I'm trying to say is, I think this team, Harry Roseman, saw the writing on the wall when it came to Milton. And Moro Ojomo was the transitional piece to go from Milton to Moro. Ojomo was the transitional piece to go from Milton. Because he had to have in his mind, there's a chance we may lose Milton. He had to. There's no way he doesn't account for that because Milton has always been one of the more talented guys on the team, but he's been overshadowed by Fletcher Cox, overshadowed by Javon Hargrave. You know what I mean? And even Jaylen Carter spoke about it, how, this guy doesn't get enough credit. And Milton Williams, it's funny, Jaylen Carter was doing his post-game interview where I think somebody from NFL Network, I forget her name. She does great work. She's a very fair reporter. Milton Williams walked by and he grabbed him. He said, "Ooh, boy, you about to get paid. You about to how happy he was for Milton, right? And it's just that chemistry, just that love, understanding the business is the business. But I think Howie Roseman is very much prepared for the departure of Milton Williams because of what the leaps Moro Ojomo has taken in year 2, which goes back to Vic Fangio, Clint Hurt in particular, developing these guys.
Yeah, I agree. But here's the thing that here's the ace that Howie has up his sleeve now. You really want to lead his dynasty?
That is a very, very good point.
You tell me when we come back next year, when we come back to camp with AJ, Devontae, Dallas Goedert, everybody on the offensive line. Lane Johnson said he coming back, so he ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
Saquon is back. He'll be healthy again. The defense, oh my God. Do you want to read? We gonna run this back.
It's some and the Eagles don't have that many free agents. They only got about maybe 7, something like that. They don't have a lot. You know what I mean? So I do see what you're saying, right?
We gonna run it back.
I see what you're saying for sure.
Now we in the same situation that Miles Sanders was in. Do you want to win or do you want the bag?
And I think when it comes to that point, we're more likely to, and again, I'm not trying to take nothing from Milton. I'm not. But Josh Sweat, and look, it could be lip service. He's excited about the win. It could be all that, right? Josh Sweat, when I saw him take that $10 million deal on the arm, hey, listen, listen, Josh, you know we love you. You know we want you here. Back to the Hassan Reddick. Remember, they basically gave them both an ultimatum. Whoever took the money.
Let me tell you why Josh won that. Because when you are a veteran like Josh Sweat and you are a good to great player like Josh Sweat, and you sign that deal, that joker had all kind of incentives in his contract, depending upon if they make it to the Super Bowl and his performance in the playoffs. I'm telling you, I bet you, I'm guessing, but I bet you he probably had an extra $5-6 million or more in that contract if they go to the Super Bowl, his performance in it, all of that type of stuff.
That's a good point.
Because that's the only way you can sweeten the deal and not have it count against your cap when you put them incentives in there. And the bonuses, man.
Because it was marketed to us as a 1-year, fully guaranteed $10 million deal. Obviously, to your point, there has to be more incentives. You make the playoffs, that's extra money you make. So, and Josh Sweat, again, he strikes me as the kind of guy, like you said, of course money is important, but the situation has to make sense for me. And when he took that deal, that told me he cares about his situation versus Hassan Reddick, who didn't care about his situation. He's running his bag. So Milton Williams, back to your point, that begs the question. Milton Williams, this team developed you. They drafted you. They put you in a position to eat this year. And they also put you in position to make your money.
Right.
Defensive tackles defensive tackles now, they're making wide receiver money, Marcus. Wide receiver money. And also, you never know when you're gonna have another chance to really cash in like that.
Exactly.
I'm a fan, of course, and I want Milton back. Don't get me wrong. And Milton is great in the run game, great in the pass rush. He's phenomenal. He had 2 sacks in the Super Bowl. I mean, how can he not test the market?
He is. I'm trying to see if I can find somewhere where it has his
especially
I don't think it's
when the Eagles. There's one person for sure I know they're not letting go. They're not letting Zack Baun lead his building.
Nah, they can't.
They not letting Zack Baun lead his building.
They can't do that.
They got $20 million in cap space right now. What does that look like trying to, and again, I know you mentioned moving. I know you mentioned the Bryce Huff thing. That chip doesn't really have that chip ain't got enough dip on it. If you catch my drift, like he didn't really have the best season.
Yeah, but Howie has a way of making that stuff work.
He does. He does. You're right. He does.
That's his superpower.
And this is me
He's
not
got a way of
doubting him.
making that stuff
Trust
work.
me, I'm not trying to doubt him at all. Trust me. But I'm just trying to think about it from the player perspective. Like, what can he really move around? And obviously, the most expensive number on the cap is going to be Jalen Hurts' contract, which is only $20.1 million.
Bradbury's gone.
And Bradbury's likely going to be going. Bradbury got his guaranteed money. Bradbury's out.
Slay's gone.
You think Slay's out?
Yeah. Why would Slay, if he's talking about retirement, why wouldn't he go out on top?
That's what I said. Now Slay was talking about, he said I would love to finish my career with the Eagles, but I definitely think I got 1 year left. But at the same time, he's kind of been double talking because all year he's been talking about how, I'm ready to be a dad, I'm ready to be home,
well,
things
everybody
of that
does that because it's very difficult.
It's a hard decision. It's a hard decision.
Yeah, everybody's experience is a little bit different, but ultimately it's very hard to walk away when you still think you got something left in the tank. We dealt with that last year with Julio Jones, all of that type of stuff. So, I mean, I know he was talking that talk, but you can't, you can't have those conversations when you're still in the midst of it. It's not productive. I heard Jason Kelsey on WIP one time, and he said people were asking him. He said, "Do you feel like you walked away too early, seeing what the Eagles have done this year?" And he said, "Let me be honest with you." He said, "I'm still 1 year away." He said, "So don't get it twisted. I still feel it, and I still want to be out there." He said, "But I know I made the right decision." And getting other things going on, being in front of the microphone. He got the late show. So he busy. He got something to keep him busy. And he's one of the lucky ones where at any time he could go up in that locker room. He could be a player coach. He could do whatever he want to in that locker room.
Yeah. Even BG said that BG kept talking, even prior to the game, he said, "Yeah, it's the last one." After the game at the table with Nick Sirianni, he was like, "Hey, look, man, I was caught up in the moment. I just gotta, right now I'm just trying to enjoy this. Yeah. I can't make a decision." So to your point, you're right. These players, it's a hard decision to make, no matter if you're so secure in a decision prior to the game, then you win. Now you feel like, how can I walk away from this? But BG also said that regardless of what happens, he plans on being a part of this organization in some capacity. So
right, but BG is in the BG got the BG is in bliss because he avoided.
I think once it died down, he can retire.
He avoided the worst case scenario because no player wants to go out with an injury, and he battled back. He put the pipe dream out there that he was going to be ready for the playoffs. Nobody believed it. Nobody believed it. But he experienced nirvana because not only did he come back, he played some meaningful minutes and some meaningful snaps in that game.
Yeah, he got some pressure, got a tackle, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So for somebody like him that put all of these years and basically he is the heartbeat of this city and his team, and to be able to come back, play meaningful minutes, he wasn't like a situation like what's his name? Quinn. Was like the guy we got from Chicago.
Robert Quinn, yeah.
Robert Quinn. He was just stealing money, but he made the most of the situation he had. He came back and got another ring to boot. So if anybody, he's in the perfect scenario to walk away. But back to the original point, that's another salary gone. Bradbury's gone. Slay is most likely gone. They're probably going to get rid of Bryce Huff. So they're going to have some money available when they get rid of those contracts, and this is what Howie does best. This is his season. The only thing I'm looking for in the draft is we need another tight end.
Yes. And honestly, you don't really got to go too high.
We need a legitimate blocking tight end.
Yeah, that can also catch the ball. But because Dallas Goedert is entering his final year of his contract.
Correct. And Dallas Goedert is injury prone.
Yeah, he's injury prone. So he's done getting major contracts. I think at this point going forward, because again, it's never about his talent. he's going to affect the game for his health. That's the problem. So when it comes to Dallas Goedert's future, and we're going to get back to the game, you guys, but this is all relevant, right? This is all relevant to just maintaining this thing we're trying to, maintaining this success we have. Dallas Goedert, as talented as he is, can't stay healthy. He's entering the final year of his contract. I look at him as a player. I look at him as a player that the Philadelphia Eagles would love to keep on payroll, but it has to be on their dime.
Yeah, exactly.
He's done. Exactly. He's still. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think he's still getting paid like a top 5, top 6 tight end. I think his contract is still in the top 6 percentile. So if he's going to come back after the 2025 season, he's likely going to the most he'll probably get from this team. A 2-year deal there, a 2-year extension, like something very team friendly. And knowing Dallas Goedert, he would love to continue to be a part of this winning situation.
And I'm okay with that because
that's a low risk, high value player.
Exactly.
Because when he's on, he's on.
But you got all these guys on the team that are they're good players, but they're not quite great players, which means it'll be cheaper to keep them.
And when you consolidate, like you said, maybe not a bunch of great players, but when you consolidate a bunch of good players, that can lead to a great defense if they're coached well.
Exactly.
And if you really look at this Eagles defense, as far as superstars, right? There's really only one borderline superstar on his defense, and that's Jaylen Carter. Zack Baun is a budding star because, in my opinion,
he came out of nowhere.
And he has to do it. He has to do it over an extended period of time, right?
Well, Cooper DeJean is a star now with his pick 6.
Okay, that's a good conversation. How do you? Are you saying superstar, star? Like how do you tier your players?
Well,
because as great as Quinyon and Cooper DeJean were, I don't know if I'm ready to call them. I would say they're budding stars. I'll say that.
Yeah, because I look at it like this, and this is a weird way because the talent is unmistakable.
Yes.
But if I ask any fan in the country, regardless of your favorite team, if I mention Patrick Mahomes, they'll know who he is.
Right.
If I mention Jalen Hurts, I think they would know who he is. Okay. So that's what I consider a superstar. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning,
Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown.
You know what? AJ Brown, I'm not sure. If I mention
really,
no. You know what? Yeah, I would say AJ Brown, especially after everything that happened with the book and all that type of stuff. Yeah, AJ Brown is a superstar.
He has to be a superstar. I mean, when you think about what he's done over the past 3 seasons,
All
Pro, back-to-back seasons, Super Bowl champion. I mean,
and that's the way I look at it.
The best receiver in man-to-man coverage, the best.
If you took any player from any team, would any fan know their name? That's a superstar to me.
Okay. I would say to your point, you got to put Cooper DeJean. That pick 6 on Patrick Mahomes, that's the kind of thing that you get notoriety. Zack Baun and Cooper DeJean for sure have put their name on the national map.
I would think that, as funny as this sounds, and I had no intention of making this comparison, but Cooper DeJean is probably more well known now because he went to Iowa with Caitlin Clark.
You know what? You may be on to something. How much you want to bet? I'm glad you said that. How much you want to bet? We're gonna start seeing the whole. You know how you see athletes like meet up in like these sports events and boxes and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Now that Cooper's a Super Bowl champion, he caught a pick 6 in the Super Bowl against Patrick Mahomes. His profile has risen dramatically. How much you want to bet we start seeing the whole Cooper DeJean, Caitlin Clark, Iowa connection, seeing him at different sports events?
I guarantee you he's gonna be at some Indiana Fever game. Watch. They cross-pollinate now. So that's just the way everything's going. So so I would put, I don't think he's quite there yet, but he's getting there. And let's not ignore the elephant in the room. He a white quarterback.
That elevates your profile as well.
And he a damn good one.
Yeah, not many of
So
them in this league.
the whole exciting whites and all of that type of stuff, they're gonna play that up as well anyway. So
Yeah, him and Reed. Reed's profile is Reed is not a star,
nah,
but his profile has risen because he's steady.
I love Reed, man.
Reed. I loved Reed when we brought him in. I loved Reed from the beginning.
I always
So
got
many
love for
people-
Reed because he was from Middle Tennessee, OVC school. Somebody that I used to play. I was like, man, represent the OVC, bro.
I loved Reed from the beginning because what stood out to me about Reed Blankenship is that he's never in the wrong place.
Right?
He may not be he may not be the fastest, but he's never out of position.
And he's gonna be another one of those players where he's a really good player,
but
he's not necessarily a great player.
He's going to be affordable.
So he'll always be affordable. And that kid right there is gonna be a coach.
Reed, you think so?
Yeah. He's gonna be a coach because he's cerebral like that. He ain't the fastest.
So it's cool.
He can't jump the highest, but he's always where he's supposed to be. So you got to be a smart player if you play in safety.
Yeah, man. When you look at this Eagles defense and the way they played in that game, everybody's best traits was on full display. Everybody's this team really dug deep into the toolkit, and everybody's skill set was on full display. A player who I was so proud to see him make an impact. I said him earlier, Jaylen Carter. We've been tracking and seeing his development throughout the entire season, and it really started to bud once Brandon Graham got hurt.
I love kids from small schools, man.
And he had to pick up more slack, right? And Jaylen Carter he's only been playing the position for about 3 years. Remember, he's a natural. Remember, he was a DB in college. He went to an Ivy League. I think he went to Brown, and then he transferred to Houston Christian. He started as a DB, put on weight, put on muscle. He has the height that you like at the position. He weighs like 230, 240 on the edge, I think, something like that. He's really, really athletic at the position. And when I saw what he did to a guy like Joe Thuney, and again, Joe Thuney was playing left tackle, he's a left guard, so he was already compromised. But to see him as Cornell, I keep saying Brown when I talk about
right.
Yeah, it was Cornell. Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate it. Cornell, smart guy, smart kid. Transition from safety to edge, you got to be a smart kid. To see his development over the course of this season has really stood out to me because when he's on the field, he may not make the tackle, he may not get the sack, but I see him. He doesn't get lost in the wash like Bryce Huff was most of the season. I see Jaylen Carter impacting the game. In that Super Bowl, I saw him impacting the game. It got to a point where they all were taking their turn. They all were taking their turn on Joe Thuney and Jawan Taylor. They were just taking turns.
Yeah. Turnstile.
Where do you?
Our defense was incredible, man. Incredible.
Which goes back.
I'm saying that, and I was a part of the last piece of that Gang Green defense. Seth Joyner, Clyde Simmons, Byron Evans, Willie T, Eric Allen, Andre Waters, Wes Hopkins. Those were my teammates.
The Hall of Famer, Eric Allen. Let's make sure we get that right.
Hall of Famer, Eric Allen. Them were some bad boys. And this defense is arguably better. Some people wouldn't even argue.
Would you say, are you saying that because of the versatility, the depth? When you say this team is arguably better, why do you say that? Because you played with those guys, those OGs. I mean, again, Seth Joyner was a monster. All those guys you named were beast. The Gang Green, that's a legendary defense. What Vic Fangio's been able to pull out of these guys is almost unprecedented. And it's such a short amount of time. Why are you so comfortable saying it's an argument? Not saying it's definitive, but why are you so comfortable saying it's an argument?
Because if you go position by position, you got some guys that are playing at that level, but they're 4, 5, and 6 years younger.
So for you, it's the
they already comparing Jaylen Carter with Aaron Donald.
So you're saying the floor is just higher, and therefore the ceiling rises as well.
Absolutely.
Understood.
Absolutely. Zack Baun has been a mixture of Seth and Willie T. Seth had a mind for the game. That was, and he doesn't get enough credit for being as smart as he was at linebacker. Willie T was a linebacker that should have been a damn wide receiver, because if you threw anything close to him, he was snatching it out of the sky. People forget Seth is in the 2020 club. 20 sacks, 20
interceptions, right?
Yeah. Zack Baun is that type of player, and he's younger.
Is Seth Joyner a Hall of Famer to you?
He's in the conversation. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because of that 2020 club, man, it's
rare.
And people forget, number one, how big Seth is, and number two, how fast Seth was.
Isn't Brian Dawkins in the 2020 club as well?
I believe so.
Let me see something.
I think he is.
Because Brian Dawkins,
I think it's B-Dog, Willie T, and Seth.
Okay, Brian Dawkins. I see 37 interceptions and 20. In 26. Yep, he is 26 sacks for his career, 37 interceptions for his career, 36 for fumbles. Wow, he's in the 2020 club.
Yeah.
Yo, man.
Yeah, but I'm looking at Zack Baun.
Damn,
I'm looking at
B-Dog had 59 tackles for loss at safety.
Yeah.
And you know me, I count tackles for loss as a sack. Like, I put those in the same vein, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, but back then they were throwing a whole lot of screens. They're throwing a whole lot of screens back in the day.
That's still fun. That's still great, though, to just be in position.
That is phenomenal. Dawkins was no joke.
So you mentioned Zack Baun.
Yeah.
And give me your breakdown. Obviously, the interception was phenomenal. Give me your breakdown of what you saw from him in that game last night.
Zack Baun was just, again, it's not complicated. It's not mystical. It's not otherworldly. Zack Baun knows what he's supposed to be. He knows where he's supposed to be on the field. And he makes the plays when he needs to make the play. He makes the tackle when he needs to make the tackle. It's that simple. The reason why he looks so good and so much better than everybody else on other teams is because they don't. How many times did Zack Baun get shook and miss a tackle?
I can't really think of no play really comes to mind. It's so funny you say that, because
precisely my point.
Like, for a guy to be able to be this consistent at the position, it's hard for me to call it a fluke, because at some point somebody gets you. Somebody gets you. It's the NFL. Somebody's going to catch you. One game, 1 week, one drive, whatever it is. I have yet to see Zack Baun become a liability.
He was solid. He was solid. And you can't. There are a lot of good linebackers out there. I would put him up there in the category like Warner and some of them, and Bolton and some of them. Bolton had a pretty good game the other day. But, you know, Zack Baun is not a household name. So he doesn't get the credit he deserved. And that's okay. That's just the way the game goes. But lucky for us. Everybody once again, just like the whole situation with Saquon, there is a team of people that got together, sat around a table, and decided that Zack Baun wasn't a good enough player to keep. Once again, guys that get paid to be the smartest in the room aren't.
Wow.
So, and then, you know, on the flip side, when you look at the offense, now we got to pull all of these receipts from people still trying to figure out, they struggling, trying to figure out a way so they can just continue to send them backhand compliments Jaylen's way. And it's just like, what else do you need? And that's why I said earlier, I don't give a damn about any more awards. I don't care. We got the ultimate prize. We got the rings. Josh Allen, you keep your award. We'll take the ring. I bet you, holler at me when you get one.
Yeah, and I'm sure Lamar Jackson
Lamar,
and them
holler
boys.
at you, holler at me when you get one.
I'm sure they would trade all those MVPs for a Super Bowl MVP. I'm sure.
Let me ask you this: Is Patrick Mahomes is Hall of Famer, no doubt,
For sure, future Hall of Famer,
right?
without a doubt. Yeah, he's on pace. It's not even a question.
So I figured this out. I heard this right before we came on. I wrote it down. Patrick Mahomes, his first 4 years as a starter, 49 wins, 4-4 in the playoffs, 2 Super Bowls, one Super Bowl victory.
His first 4 years in the league?
First 4 years as a starter.
Oh, as a starter. Okay. First 4 years, because he didn't start his first year. He got like a couple snaps at the last game of the year, last two games.
First 4 years as a starter.
And what year
was that? Jaylen Hurts' first 4 years as a starter. 45 wins. 4-4 in the playoffs. 2 Super Bowl appearances. 1 Super Bowl victory.
So one could argue.
Let him talk all that stuff, man. Let him talk. Let him talk. Let him talk. Remember my joke. If someone asks you, who's your top 10 ranked quarterbacks in the league? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Whatever you think it is, you go for it. All I know is my non-defense reading, 131 yards passing, throwing, quarterback took his team to the Super Bowl and outplayed Patrick Mahomes. Twice, really.
Twice. And let's be frank about this, to your point. That first meeting, we let him off the hook.
We let him off the hook.
You let him off the hook.
Defense let us down.
Jalen Hurts played well enough to win that game. He's outplayed Patrick Mahomes twice in those situations, like you said. Let him off the hook. Jalen Hurts, if everything remained the same, Jalen Hurts should be 2-0 against Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl.
Not to mention, 2 Super Bowls in 4 years, right? With what? 3 different offensive coordinators?
Yeah, and to your point, he defied a lot of odds. Did you know that I'm not sure how many games it is, but just for the sake of argument, roll with me here. Historically, whenever a quarterback, when it comes to Super Bowl rematches, let's put it that way. When it comes to Super Bowl rematches, the team that lost the first matchup, I believe, is like 2-11 in the second game.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yep.
So usually the team that won the first time wins the second time.
What's the second time?
That's what I'm trying to say here. On top of that, he defied and Jalen beat Patrick Mahomes second time. So that's the first thing he did. That's the first history he defied. The second piece of history he defied was quarterbacks that make it to a Super Bowl usually make it to the Super Bowl and lose, usually don't make it back.
Don't make it back. Yeah.
Jim
Kelly is the only one I can think of.
Jim Kelly, I'm trying, who was the last one to do so? Was it Jim Kelly? I think because it's a graphic. I don't know where it is, but I'm trying to remember who was the last
Jim
one.
Kelly and somebody older.
It had to be somebody, but Jim Kelly was the most recent, right? So he defied that. And that's something that stood the test of time for over 30 years. So
what they got to say now?
You put all that in perspective. Jalen Hurts there were so many forces acting against this brother. And I didn't even get into the naysayers. I'm just talking about history, trends. Jalen Hurts defied trends, historical trends that stood the test of time for well over 30 years. He's in an elite group. I think there's only 8 quarterbacks in NFL history that have reached a Super Bowl in their first 4 years as a starter, first 5 years in their career, something like that.
He in rare air.
He's in rare air.
And the funny thing is, you look at all them quarterbacks that were picked around him or picked in front of him.
Jim Kelly and John Elway, that's who it was. The ones who lost one and made it back. Jim Kelly and John Elway. Those are the most recent guys to ever do so.
So check this out. I talked about this stat so much, I had to go look it up and do the homework on it. So Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Bo Nix, Matthew Stafford, Josh Allen, CJ Stroud, Jaden Daniels, Jordan Love, and Russell Wilson. That is 45,924 passing yards that had to sit at home and watch the Super Bowl. I took Patrick Mahomes out of that because he played in it.
Right.
So Jalen Hurts in the regular season only threw for 2,900 yards, 2,903. Patrick Mahomes was
3,900, something like that. He had a career. I think it was a career low for him this year.
Yeah, it was a career low. But you had almost 46,000 passing yards at home on the couch watching this game, and I don't understand why people think that is the surefire way to make it in the playoffs. And what I think that Jalen Hurts may have done is he may have kind of rewritten how you do this. Not necessarily rewritten, but I think he's probably strengthened the part about you got to build a team around the guys that you got.
Okay, stay there real quick because someone is trying to make a point here that's irrelevant, but we're going to give him the time of day for a second. Stay there. I love where you're going with this, right? This brother here, Stephen Paparo, right? He says Hurts should win with the talent around him. He also says Hurts has the best of everything. He also whines and says, what if Burrow had a top 5 defense? He also says Eagles defense gave Hurts everything. So let's really break that down because a lot of you guys like to assume that with much is given, things are guaranteed. And you guys also like to assume that Jalen Hurts doesn't deserve to be where he is because of the pieces around him. And I've heard a lot of people say, hey, give Josh Allen this group, give Lamar Jackson these guys, give Dak Prescott these guys, give this quarterback this team, see what they do. They'll win too. And this is a very lazy way of analyzing the game because what Jalen Hurts has continued to prove to some of these idiots is that the quarterback position is significantly more cerebral than it is physical. And what he's continued to prove is that the bottom line is you still got to make the play when you got to make the play. You still got to show up. And all those guys that they love putting above Jalen Hurts, a la Josh Allen, a la Lamar Jackson, a la Justin Herbert, all those pretty boys, all those guys they love to put in those categories, right? These brothers have had their crack at it. And they have failed to deliver on more than one occasion. You can whine and say, oh, Patrick Mahomes was in their way. Last time I checked, Patrick Mahomes was in the way of Jalen Hurts getting 2 Super Bowls. And Jalen Hurts was able to get 1. So, again, this whole notion that Jalen Hurts is carried or whatever it may be, it's irrelevant. It's quite frankly irrelevant, right? People like to find their own creative ways to discredit Jalen Hurts. Yeah, now he's trying to soften it up a little bit. Hurts is awesome, but he doesn't do it on his own. That's the point. That's the point we're trying to make. That's the point we're trying to make. They want to give these other quarterbacks more credit because they have less. But my thing is, if these GMs were smart, they would insulate their quarterback with more talent and help them win and do better with their contracts so they can build rosters like this. The Eagles are not doing anything special. They're not doing anything illegal. They're not doing anything under the table. The Philadelphia Eagles are simply better at building rosters than the Ravens. They're better at building rosters than the Bills. They're better at building rosters than the Bengals. They're better at their jobs than these other organizations, than these other quarterbacks that play for these organizations. So for one, people who want to say, "Oh, Jalen Hurts has the best of everything," good. Oh, Jalen Hurts has Joe Burrow doesn't have a defense. Oh well.
Based on that logic, well, how come San Francisco ain't won one?
How come San Fran ain't won one? They said Purdy had everything. All he had to do was show up. There's a part of the game.
Here are the top 10 defenses. Here are the top 10 defenses. Philadelphia. I think this is the right list. This is team defense.
Team defense. Okay.
Philadelphia is 1. The Titans, the Jets, the Dolphins, the Packers, the Texans, the Broncos, the 49ers, the Chiefs, and the Ravens. Now take the Eagles and the Chiefs out of there because they made it deep in the playoffs. And tell me why all of those other teams How come they couldn't make it if they got great defenses and they got playmakers on offense too, and they got better quarterbacks than our quarterback?
And last time I checked,
How come they can't make it?
Those Ravens had a lot of Pro Bowls this year.
The Ravens, the Packers, the Texans, the Broncos, the 49ers had everything. All of that stuff, man. It's like, what do you want?
And guess what? Let's be honest. Josh Allen probably would have been playing in the Super Bowl if they didn't
decided to keep running the ball.
If they didn't play the game with ego, if they didn't play the game with pride, if they didn't try to force, if they weren't constantly trying to prove themselves. There's a part of his game that's mental, that goes into the human psyche. There are coaches out here, there are players out here who play the game with ego more than Jalen Hurts does. And they criticize Jalen Hurts for not putting up crazy numbers because Jalen Hurts doesn't play the game with ego. He does what's needed to win the football game. Josh Allen in that football game, they knew damn well they should have ran on that team way more than what they did. But the play caller and even Josh Allen, because he didn't check out those passes, he clearly wasn't reading the room. They didn't run the ball enough. They were running up and down the field on the Chiefs. They could have dominated that game and controlled possession. But guess what? They didn't do what they needed to do when it mattered most. Talent ain't gonna save that.
Even on the broadcast, they did the same thing that I talked about on the pregame. They put out that stat about Vic Fangio being 0-8 against Mahomes, but nobody gave context. Nobody gave context that he had offenses that averaged 11.9 points a game,
exactly,
less than 12 points a game during that run. Whenever he played Mahomes, nobody brings that up because they don't. Like, what did I say? Numbers don't lie, but they do deceive. And you got to be able to do the homework. And anybody, and this is me going on a rant for a second. That's why I tell everybody, if you have the opportunity, get on NFL.pro or watch the NFL.com and rewatch the broadcast and hook up with somebody that knows how to watch tape. Watch Greg Cosell, watch Baldy, watch somebody that knows how to watch tape. Because anybody that had been watching tape on the Chiefs the last 4 weeks in the playoffs knew what was coming. Anybody that watched the Eagles and watched their defense work the last 4 weeks in the playoffs knew what was coming. But everybody on TV, because that's what everybody listens to, they want to get caught up in all of the mystique. They get caught up in the mystique of Patrick Mahomes. Well, guess what? Mystique can't hold a block. Mystique can't blitz. Mystique can't make a tackle. And they got their ass whooped.
Simple as that. And let's not pretend Saquon Barkley was running up and down the field.
No, they did exactly what they said they needed to do. So we need to bottle up Saquon Barkley. Well, you did, and you forgot about QB1. You forgot about the guy that couldn't read defenses, that can't win a game this way, that this type of quarterback is not the franchise quarterback that's going to lead you to a Super Bowl, that he's never getting back to a Super Bowl. All of that nonsense we heard about Jalen Hurts. And it's like, what are you going to say now? Because nobody wasn't saying nothing when Patrick Mahomes threw for 120 or 130 yards in his games. He didn't get the same criticism. So they continue to move the goalposts on Jalen Hurts. But you know what? Move that goalpost. Keep putting them at the bottom of the rankings. Don't matter. All we got to do is keep racking up them wins. And you know what? We got the team right now where we can run this thing back next year. The only person we missing from this squad is Nakobe.
Yep. It's a fact.
And not for nothing, I would bring Oren Burks back. You didn't hear his name called in that game. That means he's doing what he's supposed to do. Doing his job.
Exactly. Yep. You're absolutely right. And Jalen Hurts, just to make sure we're talking about Jalen Hurts and giving him his rightful due here. Jalen Hurts through the 2024 playoffs, 4-0, completed 71% of his passes, 726 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. His rushing numbers: 34 carries, 194 rushing yards, 5 rushing touchdowns, no fumbles. So let's do some quick mental math here. Let's do some quick math. If you'll indulge me, Marcus. So 194 plus 726 is 920 yards of total offense. So Jalen Hurts was completing 71% of his passes. He generated over 900 yards in total offense through 4 games, 10 total touchdowns, only 1 turnover. He's been playing well all playoffs. It just didn't look the way y'all wanted it to look.
That's it in a nutshell.
He was efficient. He was effective. He did what he needed to do. He had some, and the thing is, people like to extrapolate things and not talk about it with context, but I'll do it real quick if you'll indulge me. The Packers game. He came into that game after missing 3 weeks of football, came in ice cold.
Real quick, Tone.
Yes.
Private McClunky just said Kellen Moore just accepted the Saints job. Official.
I knew he was going to take it.
Yeah, I did too.
I knew he was going to take it. We'll talk about that, but I knew he was going to take it. So, Jalen Hurts, first game, right? First game in the playoffs. Jalen Hurts played the Green Bay Packers. First game back. Remind you, first game back from the concussion after missing 3 straight weeks. So he came into the playoffs, no momentum, ice cold, right?
Yep.
First game back, 13 for 21, 131 passing yards, a 61.9 completion percentage, 2 passing touchdowns, no turnovers, a 111.4 passer rating with 36 rushing yards on top of that. Not a massive game, but an effective game. You beat your opponent 22-10. You beat him by 2 touchdowns. You did what you needed to do to win that game. It's the playoffs. You do what you need to do. He didn't turn the ball over. He was potent. He was efficient. He got hot in spots. Not his best game, but he did what he needed to do. No turnovers. You contributed. Remember what I told you? You may not, as long as you're putting money, look better going in than coming out. Hey, if you put $50 in the bank one day and you put $100 in the bank, hey, $100 is more than 50, but you still put money in the bank. But you didn't lose no money, right? So we in the green. We're not in the red. The Rams game, they beat them 20-22. He goes 15 for 20, 128 passing yards, 75% completion percentage, no passing touchdowns, but he did have a 91.2 passer rating, had 7 carries for 70 yards and a 44-yard touchdown run. No passing touchdowns, but cracked the game open with the 44-yard rushing touchdown, which opened up the run game for Saquon Barkley. Completed 75% of his passes. Efficient. Didn't turn the ball over. He did get sacked for a safety, but managed the game, and those circumstances was a terrible weather game. They had to manage that. But efficient. Still put points on the board. Still put money in the bank. Washington, he cracks it open. And again, context. He came into the playoffs cold. And remember, prior to that Commanders game where he got hurt at, the passing got hot against the Steelers. And I'm one to believe that it was going to continue to go from there. And the Commanders, they was blowing them out before he left the game. So his rise, the passing game trajectory got offset by his injury. So nonetheless, we get to the Washington game. Now he's starting to heat up. 20 for 28. They beat them 55-23. He goes 20 for 28, 246 passing yards, 71.4% completion percentage, 1 passing touchdown, 3 rushing, 4 total touchdowns on the day, a 110.1 passer rating, no turnovers. The passing game is heating up now. We get to the KC game, and we all saw what we saw last night. No need to really get into that, but I'll do it anyway. 17 for 22. 221 passing yards, 77.3% completion percentage, averaged 10 yards an attempt, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 interception, but also gave you 72 rushing yards and 1 rushing touchdown, a passer rating of 119.7. He was a stock that was rising in the playoffs. And this player, all he does is elevate his game when it matters most. Please miss me with the nonsense. Either you with us or you're against us. And if you're against us, pack your bags. You can't live here.
And they keep moving the goalposts if you want to. All I know is We polishing the ring. Period.
Simple as that. People at this point, people are trying to find these unique, these creative ways, these asinine ways to try to discredit what this brother brings to the table. And whether they want to accept it or not, fit matters. Building a roster around a particular player matters. This team was built perfectly around Jalen Hurts' skill set. Tell these other organizations to do better. I don't understand, and maybe you can help me understand, brother, but I don't understand why Jalen Hurts has become this difficult person to root for. Because
the national media want the guy that throws for 300, 400 yards. To me, that's it in a nutshell.
But beyond that, though, the underdog, second round pick, somebody who was doubted, like someone who beats the odds, who overcomes setbacks, like that's the American way.
Yeah, but it's the low hanging fruit. Because let's be real, most people don't like Philly for whatever reason. So there's that. You know, everybody will, they quick to bring up Santa Claus that happened in 68. You know what I mean? So that's the first thing. Then if you get beat by somebody like Jalen Hurts, what's the low-hanging fruit? He can't throw the ball. He's a running quarterback. You got a running back taking snaps. All of that type of stuff. All it is just to throw shade on the stuff that he's doing, because he'll say, I'll do whatever it takes to win. I don't have to throw for 8 bajillion yards to win the game. And that's what we've been doing. The problem is that's what everybody is not used to seeing. Nobody wants to see that. No, the same reason why everybody want to get rid of the tush push. You mad because we the ones doing it. If the Patriots was doing this, wouldn't nobody have a problem. If Tom Brady would have been doing this, nobody would have had a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody can do it how we do it. And I heard somebody say today, well, it might be the fact that they got a quarterback that can squat over 600 pounds. Maybe that's got something to do with it. Well, I think so. So they continue to move the goalposts. They're never going to be comfortable with it, especially when you see somebody like Lamar, who can throw the ball much better than Jalen can, and can run and is faster than Jalen is.
Mm-hmm.
But how fast do you have to be? You got to be fast enough to get away from the defense.
How strong do your arm got to be?
That. Exactly. And at the end of the day, at some point in time, you do got to trust the guy that you're throwing the ball to. You do got to trust the guy next to you. And you know what? Our guy made the play. Their guy dropped it. Baltimore's guy dropped the ball in the end zone. They could have took him to overtime. They didn't make the play.
Mm-hmm.
We learned our lesson. Saquon dropped it in Atlanta. Devontae dropped it in Washington. We learned our lesson. Our guys made plays. Our defense made plays, and they didn't. Again, if you study the tape, you knew what our defense was coming with. You knew what Vic Fangio been doing all freaking year. We ain't blitzed all year. And you know what? They still couldn't stop us. So y'all take all them accolades. You create out all of them lists, all them top 10s, all them power rankings. Throw all of that shit out the window. Find you somebody that knows how to watch tape and look at it for yourself. Because if we figure it out, I damn well tell you that Jeff Stoutland and everybody in the Eagles camp have figured it out as well. They're watching the same stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What Kendrick say? Turn the TV off.
And if he's as bad as they claim he is, Jalen Hurts, that is, if he is bad as mid as they claim he is, why nobody expose him yet? If he's been carried this long, you can't listen. After a certain point, a dead body is a dead body. You're gonna have to let it go because it's gonna start stinking. Yeah. So at some point, the exposition is supposed to happen.
And why you mad at us for something that everybody else is trying to do? Everybody want a team like that. Everybody want a running back like Saquon. Everybody want somebody like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith.
Uh-huh.
Or corners like Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. Or a linebacker like Zack Baun, who nobody else saw coming. And you got him for the cheap, and now he turns into a Pro Bowl player. Everybody wants that. Everybody trying to build that. The only problem is we got the guy that's smart enough to actually do it.
And another thing what doesn't get talked about is when it comes to these teams who run the ball versus passing the ball. And I want to throw something at you real quick. The Eagles are the first Super Bowl champion with more rushing yards than passing yards in a season, including the playoffs, since the 1975 Steelers. The Philadelphia Eagles rushed for 3,866 yards and passed for 3,820. That's the epitome of balance. The Eagles were a balanced offense from a yardage perspective. 3,800 each, give or take. 3,800 running, 3,800 passing. They were probably the most balanced team in terms of yardage the entire season. Now, granted, the Eagles were dead last in pass attempts with 25 attempts per game, but Baltimore was 31st in the league with 27 attempts. What's the difference between two pass attempts, really? We're splitting hairs at that point.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of these teams that were running more than they passed it. But it's sexy to say the Eagles were dead last in pass attempts in the league, therefore they don't trust the quarterback. But Baltimore only threw the ball 2 more times. Do they not trust Lamar Jackson? What's the real difference between $25 and $27? Just $2 more, right? I mean,
not a big difference.
Not a big difference at all.
And this is tried and true for what Kellen Moore's track record.
Yeah,
he ran the same balanced attack when he was with Dallas. So I flip it around and look at the situation like, what would have happened if Dallas would have actually ran the ball like we run the ball now? Zeke was not Saquon Barkley, but Zeke was a damn good back. But here's the difference. Okay, now you got the diva wide receiver. You got to throw the ball. Got to give it to CD. You got to give it. You got to feed everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And Jalen Hurts stuck to the plan and let everybody know, I'm going to win the way we got to win. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. But we still winning.
Did you know
everybody can't do it?
The bottom third of the league. The bottom third of the league, and I'm talking 10 teams here. There's 31 teams in the league, so bottom third of the league, I'm talking 10 teams. So make sure I got this right here. Bottom third of the league starting at 21. 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so the bottom 12 teams in terms of pass attempts, right? Bottom 12 teams. Out of those 12 teams, did you know 7 of them made the playoffs? And they were in the bottom third of the league in pass attempts? 7 of those 12 teams made the playoffs. I mean, the running game is back. The running game should have never left. But it's all good, though. I want to pick your brain about the Kellen Moore thing, though.
Okay.
Because I think you and I both knew it was coming.
Yeah, now he said he wasn't sure, but I just read a story that CBS Sports 4 hours ago, Saints plan to hire Kellen Moore. Eagles owner anticipates losing OC and wishes him the very best. So if it hasn't happened, it's going to happen. But
yeah. Now, here's my question, right? Because we all know the grass isn't always greener.
And if it is, it still got to be mowed.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. I don't know how attractive that job is. Some people
Especially
felt like that job
with the latest stuff. Didn't they have some type of sexual misconduct issue going on down there?
This is my first time hearing about that. I had no idea. But Kellen Moore, he's inheriting if you ask me, he's inheriting a ticking time bomb that he has to defuse before it's too late. And I'm not a fan of the trajectory the Saints have been going. Now, before I dig too deep into this analysis, before I crucify them, right, let's look up the cap space they have. Let's figure out how much money he'll be working with. Let's look at the roster. Because I don't know how attractive that job is. It definitely wasn't the most attractive.
Right.
So as of right now, in terms of cap space, wow. What did Kellen Moore just do? Okay. Kellen Moore just inherited the New Orleans Saints, who are dead last in cap space. They're actually in the hole. They're $51.1 million over the cap. I'm not sure. Like, what are you building? How much flexibility will you really have? How much leash will they give you? The quarterback situation, Derek Carr. Come on, we know what that is.
Yeah, he got a road to hoe, bro.
I'm trying to think who else is on that roster from a quarterback perspective. Let me look at their depth chart right here.
Nobody they want to keep.
Derek Carr,
Spencer
Rattler, Jake Heiner, Ben DiNucci.
Does he like Spencer Rattler? Spencer Rattler had a lot of fanfare when he came out. I remember when he was coming out of high school. He played behind Jalen Hurts for a year.
Let me see where.
But he's just not the one. And they got the church scandal, the church sex scandal going on.
I didn't even know about that.
They supported I think churches and stuff like that were trying to cover up sex scandals. So the New Orleans Saints had something
really?
Yeah.
Knowingly?
Yeah. Takeaways from the NFL emails outlining Saints damage control for clergy sex abuse crisis. So they were trying to cover up for some clergymen that were sexually abusing people. And the Saints, I guess some people in the Saints knew certain clergy or was affiliated with certain churches, and the Saints helped cover it up. That's the issue.
Whoa.
So it's trying to figure out how much were the Saints complicit in whatever it is that has happened. So he got that to deal with as well. So good luck, Kellen.
This is you can't be this.
Hope you like your jambalaya.
This is why during last year's head coaching hiring cycle, this is why I had a lot of respect for Aaron Glenn. Had a lot of respect for Ben Johnson. I had a lot of respect for Bobby Slowick. Right, those three were like the hottest names on the presses last season. You know, Bobby Slowick with what he did with C.J. Stroud's rookie year. You know, he's since been let go from the Texans based on how this year went, which is crazy. But Bobby Slowick, I have a lot of respect for Ben Johnson, Bobby Slowick, and Aaron Glenn because they were three of the hottest names on the coaching cycle last year. And I'm trying to think all the jobs that were available. The Atlanta Falcons job was available. There was a lot of jobs available. I think the New England job was available. I think the Titans job was available. There was a lot of jobs available, basically. And Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, and Bobby Slowick basically, and look, they had interviews, but they ultimately decided. Got you. They ultimately decided that, yeah, I could be a head coach, but I don't like these situations. They ultimately decided they didn't like the situations. And I respect a guy for saying, you know what, I'm not that desperate because I need to make sure that you're giving me a fair shot to do this job. But Kellen Moore, you're going to New Orleans. You want to be a head coach that bad that you're willing to be fired within 3 years if you don't get results?
Pretty much.
We know how this thing goes, Marcus.
Unless he's going for the bag.
Unless he's going for the bag. I don't like that. I don't like that move professionally. If I was it has to be. It has to be for the bag. There's nothing promising on that team. Cam Jordan is on his way out the door. Alvin Kamara already talked. Let's go ahead.
He got the ring now. The ring now.
The ring as the head coach don't shine as bright as the ring as the OC. I mean, the ring as the OC don't shine as bright as the head coach ring. Do it.
I agree, but I mean, to be, you can't say that he is not one of the main reasons they got to where they got to.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. I'm strictly talking from the perspective of, is this job the one you really want to hang your hat on? The Saints job, that is. Is that which is why it's to your point. It had to be more about the money.
It's a personality thing, in my opinion. So I don't know Kellen Moore's personality. Is his personality to the point where he says, I got to get while the getting is good? He just won the Super Bowl as an offensive coordinator. His profile is not going to get any higher. He couldn't get it from the Cowboys.
So you're basically saying strike it when the iron's hot.
Correct. He got the ring, so you can't get any higher. Okay. So if you win a ring as an assistant, if you win a ring as an offensive coordinator, and because especially when you're looking at Jalen Hurts, one of the most controversial and polarizing quarterbacks in the league, to win a Super Bowl with the lowest, passing yards damn near in history, what you got something to do with that.
Yeah.
So his profile is going to be high. So I think he's striking where the iron is hot. I don't know what they're telling him about the church scandal and who the quarterback is going to be. Maybe he likes Spencer Rattler. I don't know. But he's going to have a road to hoe. Or he might be one of them guys like, hey, I want to attack this head on and I got ideas and all of that type of stuff. I don't know if he understands or cares what the money situation is. But as far as him getting the bag, when he signed that contract, he's going to sign a guaranteed contract. So if they do fire him in 3 years, guaranteed he'll get another job as an OC somewhere. Maybe he'll figure out he don't like it. So I think he in the driver's seat and crazier things have happened because he can say no to the job and say, hey, I want to run it back with Philly. Yeah. He can get down there because you got to think about it like this too. He know about the church situation. Whatever this scandal is, he know about it.
He must believe
they got to explain it to him.
Yeah. He's not going in there blind. He's definitely not going in blind.
Exactly.
He's definitely not going in blind for sure. And look, like you said, strike while the iron's hot. Listen, I'm all about somebody getting their money. I want to make my position very clear, right? Get your paper. I'm definitely not advising about that, right? Take care of your family, do what you got to do.
But you already know all money ain't good money.
And that's my point, right? All money ain't good money. And I know somebody in the chat brought up his ambition. And I think it was Concern. His name is Concern. He said, can't fault the man for his ambitions. Oh,
no, not at all.
You can't fault him, but ambition unchecked can be destructive. Reaching too far can lead to a fall, right? Blind ambition can lead to ruin. So
you just got to know what you're getting into.
And you just got to know what you're getting into. That's
because
all.
At the end of the day, he could be the most even-keeled person in the world. But if you walk into bad ownership, bad players, no cap space, what you gonna do with it?
That's what I'm saying. Like, which goes back to what you said. You got the ring already. So might as well get your paper now, right?
What did Blade say? Everybody trying to ice skate uphill.
Shout out to Blade. I like that. And on that note, y'all, we're gonna close out the show. Thank you guys for locking in the way you guys did, man. It's been a phenomenal season. Me and Markus are going to continue to meet up weekly to give you guys dope content to talk about, upcoming free agency and the Eagles re-signing players and losing players. We're going to be discussing the draft and prospects we like. This is going to be a full off season, you guys. The grind don't stop. More money to make, more wins to get, more players to sign, more players to draft. It's the endless cycle of the NFL season, baby. And we love it.
And finally, I can finally jump into damn NCAA women's game in the WNBA. Finally, I can jump back into that.
For sure.
All of these stories been happening, and I'm like, man, I ain't got time for this right now. I got to concentrate, so my squad can win, but that's over with. So now we can get into some other stuff. The NCAA women's tournament is getting hot and heavy. The WNBA is about to start ramping back up. So I'm looking forward to it, man. But I'm going to bask in this glory for about another week, bro.
As we should, man.
So I'm about to go out and get my flowers today because I just realized that Valentine's Day is Friday, right?
Sure enough, I don't already got some of my work out the way, man. So
that's the parade, bro.
I know I'm gonna be in Philly for it too.
Are you gonna be here? Oh, we gotta try to connect, bro.
I'm gonna get to Philly. I'm trying to connect. I'm trying to connect with as many people as I can. So I'm definitely gonna be in Philly for the parade for sure.
Right.
But it's funny. Valentine's Day is Friday. My marriage anniversary, my anniversary is Thursday.
Oh, nice. You got double duty.
Yeah, 4 years married. So, but we stacking that, and I'm getting my work done on Thursday, so I can fly out Thursday night. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, Marcus, you already know it's a pleasure, my man. You guys have been tuned in to what are we going to call this now? Now there's not even pre-games anymore. You know, just it was a great show, you guys. We'll figure it out later on. Smash that like button. Make sure you guys subscribe to Pro Fan Talk. Make sure you guys subscribe to the Chalk It Up Network, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. Marcus, play that song, man.
Super Bowl champs.
Let's do it.
In the city of Philly, where the birds take flight, Eagle swag on the rise each and every night. Tone and Marcus got the scoop ready to ignite. From the lanes of South Street to the Broad Street lights, dashing like a running back, hitting every play. Blind guys in the zone, never led astray. Talking touchdowns, talking game day. Huddle around the mic, hear what they gotta say. Fly like an eagle soaring in the sky. Tone and Marcus always standing by, bringing their heat, call it do or die. Philly squad, hear the battle cry. Fly like an eagle soars in the sky. Tone and Marcus always standing by.